All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting, regular meeting of January 11, 2022, to order at 6 p.m. If we can have Commissioner Sanchez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
If I could have everyone stand.
Jessica, if you could do the roll call, please.
All right, Commissioner Guerrero,
Here.
and then Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Quill. Commissioner Flores,
Here.
Vice Chair Armstead, and then Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Okay, and we're just missing Ms. Morales.
Okay, thank you. If you can administer the oath.
Yes. For anyone that would like to speak tonight, if you could please stand and raise your right hand. And then do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Okay, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. Let's see, any closed session? None? Public comments on items not on the agenda? None? Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda? No? Okay. Consent calendar, please.
One is the minutes for the regular meeting of December the 14th, 2021. They are complete as presented. Thank you.
Consent items are considered routine in nature and may be enacted in one motion. All public and non-public hearings will be open at one time. Any item may be discussed separately upon request of a member of the Planning Commission or member of the public. Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the consent calendar items? If not, may I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
At this time, actually, I'd like to abstain as I was not present for that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Second. And call for the vote.
Okay. And then Chair Guerrero, how do you vote?
Excuse me. Did we get a second for that motion?
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
And then, so second, Vice Chair Armstead, how do you vote?
She's asking how you vote.
Approve, okay. And then Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Sanchez, you said you wanted to abstain? Okay. And Commissioner Quill?
Aye.
And then Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Lewis? Okay, so they're approved.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing items. The Planning Commission will first hear a report from staff, and then the public hearing will be opened. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Next, members of the public will be allowed to speak. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak must be sworn in and also fill out a request to speak form. The forms are located at the table near the door. When your name is called, come forward and speak into the microphone. Say and spell your name and give your address for the taped record. After all have spoken, the applicant will be allowed to respond. The public hearing will then be closed and the Planning Commission will begin deliberations and make a decision. All actions except general plan amendments and amendments to the Municipal Development Code are final action unless an appeal is filed and fee paid within 15 days to the Community Development Department. If you challenge the resultant action of the Planning Commission in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this agenda, or in written correspondence delivered to the Community Development Department at or prior to the public hearing. Staff, will you please, item number 2? Staff
Good eve-
report, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 21-02. The proposed project is for the development of a social service facility. It's going to be a housing facility comprised of 30 residential units for low-income military veterans on a parcel containing approximately 0.76 acres. The project site is located at 1351 Northeast Street within the Commercial General, CG1 zone, and the Transit Overlay District. Here is a zoning map of the current site. The current site is a vacant property. To the north of the property, it is surrounded by office, by motel, and by other commercial retail uses. To the east of that site, it's a commercial office, and that's a lot vacant lots, as well as an existing residential housing neighborhood. To the west of that, you have also some vacant properties and some commercial office, retail types of similar uses. And then to the south of that, you have a vacant land, restaurants, residential, and other commercial uses. We have the aerial map once it gets enlarged. The aerial map, as you can see, it's going to have the surrounding neighborhood. There's going to be a combination of commercial offices, shopping centers, retail businesses, existing residential neighborhood. So it's going to be compatible with what's in the area. The applicant is United States Veterans. They're a not-for-profit organization. They have established various projects throughout Southern California, and they support programs for military veterans and their families for over the past 24 years. As it relates to this project site, their operational measures, it's going to be permanent housing facility for low-income veterans with income 61% of the median average income. There's going to be a case manager assigned with each veteran household that will create individual stability plans to help them get jobs, maintain, get support within the community. This is not a drop-in shelter. There is no rent overnight stay. That's prohibited. No food distribution. All the facilities are going to have their own kitchen facilities. No clothing or any kinds of items. That's completely prohibited, and that has also been incorporated as part of the conditions of approval for the project. Here is the existing site looking east from Northeast Street. As you can see, it's a vacant property. It's been pretty well kept up and maintained throughout its vacancies. Here's looking onto the northern side of the site to the other neighboring commercial uses. Here's the properties to the south. You have, again, a mixture of vacant properties, some residential, as well as some commercial types of uses in the area. Here are the renderings for the property. So this is what the property is going to be architecturally developed. It's going to have some traditional design and incorporate some modern hints, some vertical and arches, as well as horizontal architecture to kind of break up the massing of the building. It's going to have some brown tones with some off-white colors, so that way it continually breaks and it doesn't look like a big building there at the front. Here's the existing site. The existing site is going to be accessed through East Street. There is going to be exit here on North Starter, but that's just going to be for exit only, typically for a trash enclosure to be able to go through our emergency services like fire department. There is currently an easement located, existing easement between the property to the north and this property for the purposes of them doing their delivery trucks. So it's only going to be open during those times. So it's going to be limited hours. Here we have the floor plan. It's going to be consisting of 30 units. There's going to be 21 one-bedroom units and 9 two-bedroom units. It's going to have a common space here in this area, in the green area, and it's going to also serve as a office area for the residents. Based on the information, the staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2022-001 based on the categorical exemption and approving CUP 21-02 based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. If you have any questions, the applicant is here, or I myself can answer any questions as well.
So I hereby open the public hearing for item number 2. Is there anyone wishing to speak on item number 2? Sir?
Mr. Swift?
Thank you. My name is George Swift. I'm president of the Vietnam Vets of America, Chapter 47 for Riverside and San Bernardino counties. We currently maintain pantries in these veterans villages. The one at March Air Force Base, March River, is run by U.S. vets, and we maintain a pantry in there for them to feed these vets, because they don't feed them. They have nice housing for them, but they don't have a place, they don't have anything to, they don't have any facility to feed these vets. Also, we do the one at Loma Linda Veterans Village, and there's also one in Beaumont. And then Redlands is getting ready to build one, and they're building one right now in Cathedral City. We have taken on an enormous task 3 years ago when we were contacted by U.S. vets to come over and set up a pantry at March, because a lot of those people that are in there don't have any money. I mean, they're veterans of all wars, not just Vietnam vets. And most of them are the late model vets, the ones from Iraq, Afghanistan, Desert Storm, and a lot of those veterans were on the street. Most of them are ex-homeless vets. That's where they came from, and their families. And they got them off the street and they put them in these housing. But the thing is that they need to eat, and some of them don't have any money. They don't have a claim with the government. They're not old enough to go to collect Social Security. So they don't have any place to eat. So we set up a pantry for them. And we fill those pantries up every single week. Also, the one at Loma Linda has no elevators, but it's got 3 floors. Now, you've got disabled veterans in there. That's not good. I hope they put elevators in this facility. They did in the one in Beaumont, and they did the one at March, but they didn't do it in Loma Linda. We would like to make sure that there is some type of pantry room to store food for these veterans. Now, they unfortunately, when March got us together, they put a room that was considered just a meeting room like, and they gave that to us to put in. We put shelves, refrigerators, we bring all the equipment in and set it up. And we did the same thing at Loma Linda. Unfortunately, Loma Linda didn't have any place to put us, so they put us in this garage back there. Well, it works. We can feed the guys every week still, or the people and families. We have a large amount of families at Loma Linda, small families at March, and we've got a lot of family at Beaumont. So we're hoping that when they build this one in San Bernardino here, that they do have some type of room for a pantry. That's what we'd ask. They are doing that for the one in Redlands now. They're going to put a room in there for us to bring in refrigerators and shelves and store food in there for them. We spend a lot of money on this. We get a lot of donations, but right now we spend $1,500 a month just for the milk and eggs. So a lot of milk and eggs we buy. But there's a lot of families in there too, so we have to have, and that's a staple for a lot of veterans too. So we have to have it. And I just got news from the milkman today that my price of milk is going to go up, and so my eggs. I guess I'm going to be paying close to $4 a dozen of eggs. That's unbelievable. But anyway, So I just wanted to make sure that that they have something for these these folks that are in there to eat, and a place to store the food, and a place and also an elevator to get up and down, okay? I thank you. Any questions for me?
Mr. Swift, I have a question.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for making your presentation. And are you familiar with the security that they have at this particular building, or the proposed security?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
We should have security. We have a problem with the problem we have, like over at Loma Linda and over at March, is that we get a lot of homeless people off the street that come over to these places. And every now and then, they come in there and they get in there and they cause all kinds of problems. And to beat the crap out of the security officer over at March about a year ago, they come in one night and beat him up. They go around the rooms, they get in the building and they get in there, and then they go around and they shake door handles to see if some of the vets left their doors open or something. Security is a big thing, and we have to have it, because that attracts those other homeless people to come in, because some of these people that were on the street know these people. So they think that they're friends, that they can get in there and get free food and everything. So it has been a problem. And we've had it at Loma Linda. We haven't had much problem at Beaumont. Beaumont's more secure. But March is wide open. There's no fence around the whole perimeter.
Yeah.
And I would suggest you have a fence. We did that at Loma Linda, and it's worked quite a bit. They have a fence and a locked gate, and you can't get in without knowing the code.
Thank you. Yes, previous projects we've approved like this, we had quite a conversation about the security, because that is an area that
It is a
you
big
need
problem.
to look at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Larry's a member of our chapter, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the applicant is here to answer any questions. There is going to be security fencing on the site with the block wall, and also electrical gate. So it is going to be protected. He could probably go into more, there is going to be security on site. He might be able to go into more detail as it relates to how the program in itself would work, because the facility, the individual units themselves have their own kitchen facilities, but I do know that they do offer other separate programs to be able to provide services to the vets that are going to be occupying those housing units. And here.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm Kent Trimble with US Vets. I'm the project applicant. Security. So like Elizabeth said, we do have a totally secured site. It's fences, it's front gates, gate keys, it'll be secured. We also sorry, I'm gonna go like this so I can talk. We also have cameras all over the building. So there's no door, there's no entrance, there's no way that you can get in without being on a camera. We also have, as you were talking about, we do have the community room. It's staffed, so this is a permanent supportive housing complex, which means that we have staff on site, we have people around, we have people that help all the residents all the time, so it's not like they're off on their own. We do have food, and like you said, and I built March Veterans Village also, so I know that one. That one it's a little bit different, but I did that one as well. So we do provide food service for them as well as clothing service, and so we provide all these different social services for them. But the security plan is very, very, very important to us. As you know, as you said, this neighborhood, we need to make sure that everyone's eyes are on everything, just as we do at March. And he's right, March, if you haven't been to March Air Reserve Base, big open, wide open, there's no gates, there's no fences, you can drive in, you can drive out. People do come and go all the time, and the buildings that we built, there's no fence around it. Somewhat deliberately because it's on the old air base, but this case, we do have fencing everywhere. Yes, ma'am.
He mentioned elevators.
I do not think by code we have to have an elevator on this one, so we don't have one.
Yeah, so for this one, they didn't provide elevators. All the ADA accessible units will be located on the first
Ground
floor.
floor.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Each unit accommodates how many?
It's a two-bedroom unit, so it could either be 2 single men, 2 single women, or it could be a family. And so if it's a family, it could be assume.
I thought it was said that it was prohibited, singles.
Two singles and it's single units? No. We have 2-bedroom units. So there's 2 bedrooms, kitchen, dining room.
No, I mean, I thought it was just for families.
We have families, but you can have.
But you said 2 single men or 2
You
single
can have,
women?
you can share rooms, yes. So we always do everywhere. We didn't restrict it.
Yeah, so it's going to be, if they have a partner, a male partner,
Right.
or, it's a female and a female partner, if they have their partners.
Yeah,
with
but
them
that's,
with
is
their
that
household.
family? Is that a family?
That's a family, yes,
considered a family unit, I believe.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Your mic.
Yeah, I'd like to know about, I see that between the two properties, the property I believe would be to the south of your project site, is that where that 40-foot driveway, 24-foot gate is on the drawing? I mean, that's where.
There we go. So
Yeah, it would be located right here. So this is the property to the north, and then there's a gate.
To the north.
it's the pay service, paycheck.
Yes, the paycheck service, it's a summer, it's been there for a couple of years, and so they have access for their delivery vehicles, they go onto the site. And the way they have a reciprocal access agreement that goes through this property, and they can either go through here, but if that's gonna be too complex for the resident, create concerns, they can actually go through the site. And they only do delivery once a week for their supplies. So they don't use this often. So that's going to be part of the project, so that way they can continue to do their delivery, take their order, take their products, and then exit, and then onto the site.
And there is a, I don't know, would it be some sort of an automatic gate or something on the East Street side?
Correct.
see.
There's typically the fire department services, they have like a Knox box so that you can have access. So it's a key coded, so nobody can just come in and out before you go to exit. Correct.
And most of this is, well, it's block wall with openings for these wrought iron gates, is that how?
Correct, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounded like you have, it's staffed all the time? That's what it sounded like? The
There's
community room is?
the community room. Yes, ma'am.
Just curious. Okay. But not, then that's not 24/7? There's no on-site management?
This one, we do have an on-site manager, yes. There's 29 units plus a manager's unit.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Oliver. Wasn't this project brought before us once before?
Yes, it was. It was previously approved, and it expired.
It expired?
Yeah, the approvals are good for 2 years. There's ability to file for an extension, and they did not make that cutoff.
And is this address south of Baseline or north of Baseline?
North of baseline.
North of baseline,
North of Baseline.
yes.
What is there now?
On our site, it's flat dirt. There's nothing there.
It's vacant.
It's a vacant lot.
It's vacant.
There's the taco shop.
So it's
right at the corner
close
of
to
13th.
San Bernardino High School?
No, that's further up. That's probably 8 or 9 blocks north of us. This is right at 13th and East Street. There's I forget the name of the taco shop that's on the corner. Then there's a little small strip
That
of
is
grass.
north of Baseline? Where, what is?
13th and East Street is the crossroads.
This site is between 13th Street and 14th Street on E.
And what was the reason for the expiration?
Funding. With all the COVID and with everything that happened, we weren't able to put all of our funding together, so it lapsed.
Are you going to also build south of Baseline?
Baseline. We do not own any properties south of Baseline. We also own a lot at 17th and East Street. It's another vacant lot. Once we finish building this, then we'll come back to you and do that one as well. And that'll be 29 units that just kind of jointly together, same uses.
I don't understand.
If I may, so if you recall a while back, about 4 years ago or so, there were two projects that were approved. This one and the other one closer to 17th Street, right? So they were both approved, and they both have expired. So now they're coming back for just this one now, and what he's indicating is that once this one's completed, at some point, they will come back with the new application for the other site.
Correct.
That's if the site is not approved for something else in the meantime.
We own it, so we would have to come to you and ask for permission to
Okay.
build something on it, but yes.
Did you have, yes. So I just wanted to start off saying that I think this is a wonderful project. We do need this for our veterans.
Thank you.
And then I just had a few questions in terms of street improvement, and also you have decorative masonry block around the property. So is that going to be with ivy? Is that going to be soundproofing? That way they're comfortable and, you know, it is kind of a busier street.
Yeah, so it's going to be, we are, typically we do like a split face decorative style. We can ask them to do maybe some growing vines similar to what the neighbor to the north has, to kind of grow aside the wall, so we can have that as an added improvement when we're reviewing their landscaping. We can definitely take a look at that. And I'm so sorry, but I forgot your second part of the question. I apologize about that.
Street improvements?
Yes, so there are going to be some street improvements dedication as part of those street improvements, ADA improvements associated with that. They would need to submit plans to the Public Works Department for all those associated improvements.
Perfect, okay, because I want to make sure everyone has access and.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
there's not, you know, issues in that. And then, at first, when I saw this, I kind of thought maybe it was a tad, but then kind of reading down, it was not a drop-in shelter
No, it's
style,
not.
so thank you for that, because I know kind of homelessness kind
Yeah,
of
yes,
tries to
yes.
get in there with that. And then, I know you have someone that's going to be there permanently in charge for maintenance, so they're going to be doing all of the kind of landscaping and that such?
We'll have to have a third-party management company, the property manager, that'll take care of the landscaping. The on-site manager, if something happens in the middle of the night, would be someone the residents could go to and say, hey, my toilet's overflowing or whatever. And then that person would know who to call in emergency to get someone out there all the time. We don't self-manage, so we would have a separate third-party management company.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that, yeah, that was covered. All right, aside from that, I think it actually looks like a great project.
Thank you.
Any?
Yes, I'd just like to kind of get a feel for, we heard the gentleman, I believe Mr. Swift, is it? This issue with the pantry. I mean, you already kind of answered my question on the elevators with all the ADA stuff being on the first level. I'd just like to know what your thought is on having a room there that they can utilize as that pantry.
I'm sure we can find space.
If I may, Commissioners?
Yes.
This is a permanent residential facility for veterans. It's not a homeless shelter.
Right.
It's not a drop-in. It's not anything like that. We do have, and specifically because of that, we do have condition number 9 in our resolution that prohibits the distribution of food, clothing, or other items. So those that are living there are living there.
Right.
It's not intended to draw others from the community to go pick up food,
Yeah, no, I
clothing,
understand
even
that.
if they're a vet or what have you. You have to live there. So if there's if they have a facility on site where they supply their residents
Right.
with food. If it's
yeah.
for the residents, that's fine, but you can't just have someone walking down the street walk in for food or,
No, I was
what have
more,
you.
I was more along the lines, and thank you for that, Oliver. I was more along the lines of just accommodating the vets with what they needed to store food items that they would need there. I didn't get the impression that it was for the general public or anything like that. No, no, no.
so are you,
But-
when you say vets, are you saying the vets that live on site? Or
Yes,
vets that live?
absolutely.
Residents, the residents.
Yeah.
The residents.
This is all inclusive for those that are.
That's correct.
That are on site, yes. And your thought is on that you'll probably.
We do it at March Air Reserve Base now and our other facilities, so.
Okay, so I'm good with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner.
I have two questions. Could you share a little bit more about any energy efficiency that might have been incorporated into the building? And secondly, for or you can start with that.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And for landscaping, I know the image isn't exactly always the same as what the landscaping will be, but is the intent to use palm trees? And if so, can we use a different kind of tree that's more useful for our environment?
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, it's not going to be palm trees. When they do their submittal for landscaping, we'll review it. It's going to be more traditional types of landscaping that's not as evasive, not as permanent, and challenging to maintain and keep up. That's not going to cause a lot more issues in the long run. It's a lot more smaller type of focused landscaping.
And as far as energy efficiency, we're not proposing solar on the site. We want to meet all the Title 24, obviously, but there's no solar involved in it right now, no solar, thermal, hot water, anything like that at the moment. If we can find, we're a nonprofit social service provider, we're not a real estate development company, so if we can find someone that would donate the money, or we could find an offset for the capital side to put it in place, we'd love to do it. It's just, it's always a cost thing for us. So, and, you know, it's ready to put in if we can find someone to give us the capital to actually put it in place.
And then if I may add to your question, they are required to follow the current Title 24 building code requirements. So typically when they do their submittal for the construction drawings, that will incorporate all the requirements, current requirements that are necessary to meet a lot of the energy efficiency standards.
Anything else? No?
I got one final question, I'm sorry. On your drawing, I'm not sure whether it's on the, I believe it's that one. There's somewhere on there. It speaks of an underground infiltration BMP. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. So we now have to capture and retain stormwater. So it's a stormwater retention system, and it's basically underneath the drive aisle on the page south through there. Thank you, Elizabeth. There will be actually metal tubes, metal pipes that are underneath there that holds the stormwater that comes in, and then slowly but surely it goes out. And we have holes in the bottom of it, so some of it trickles down, and the rest of it eventually goes into the storm drain system. But it's stormwater.
Thank you, thank
Sure.
you.
All right.
And will you invite us to the grand opening?
Absolutely, absolutely,
You will?
absolutely.
All right.
Elizabeth will hold me to that.
Okay.
Well, I just have to say thank you so much, Mr. Swift, for doing what you do for our veterans, and thank you, sir. Looks like a wonderful project, a definite improvement to the area. And now, are you thinking that you have funding in place? Should this be approved?
Yes,
How
ma'am.
soon will you be able to start construction and
So
plans?
since the last time we were in front of you, we've secured VHHP funding, Veteran Housing Homeless Prevention money. It's state money. So we have about $5 million of that money. We started talking with San Manuel San Manuel is very interested in becoming our partner on this project. We're also applying for, you can now stack state funding sources. So we're going to apply for the multifamily housing MHP money this year, and we're also going to apply for Federal Home Loan Bank money that we had before, but that too expired. So I think we're in a good spot now to get all the funding in place and the design done this year, start construction next year, and be open the end of 2023. That's the plan.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else?
And Oliver, thanks for suggesting that it would just be families.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. Not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And may I entertain a motion for item number 2? Okay, motion.
I'll second.
Second, okay. Jessica, call for the vote?
All right, Commissioner Guerrero, how do you vote?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Quill? Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Armstead? Yes. And Commissioner Lewis?
Yes.
All right, it passes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. See you at the groundbreaking.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Can you turn off the mic, please? Thank you. All right, item number 3, staff report, please.
Good evening. Item number 3, me again. Item number 3 is conditional use permit 21-08 and public convenience or necessity letter 21-01. The proposed project is for a new ABC Type 21 license, off-sale general, which includes beer, wine, and distilled spirits, for an existing market, Circle One Market. The project site is located at 2144 North Palm Avenue within the Commercial General CG1 zone. This is the existing zoning area within the vicinity. To the north of that, you have a lot of commercial, vacant property, commercial retail, and shopping centers. To the east, you have a small little shopping center with some residential housing. To the south of that project, you have some commercial retail and some residential housing, residential neighborhoods. And then to the west of that, you have some commercial retail and vacant properties as well. This is an existing area of the project site. To the north of the project site, there is an existing, this is the existing site. They are requesting, as mentioned before, to have a new Type 21 license. Currently, right now, they do have an existing Type 20, but because they are asking to get that upgraded, it is considered a new license type. To the north of that, you have an existing 7-Eleven convenience store. This one is within census tract 74.04. It is a different census tract, but it is within proximity of the proposed new license. To directly on this side, here we have the Stater Brothers, and then we have a existing convenience store that both have a Type 21 license, sorry about that. They are currently located in census tract 74.10, which is the same census tract that the new license is being requested at. This is the existing site. This is a Circle K Market, and this is the current site and what it currently looks like. It's an existing site. It was part of a deemed approved ordinance, so there is not currently a conditional use permit for the existing Type 20 license that they have. So since they requested for a new license, a Type 21, they had to apply for a conditional use permit. There is currently existing within this census tract 5 off-sale licenses, which exceeds the 4 licenses that are allowed by ABC. By them, as mentioned, by them upgrading their Type 20, it is considered a new license, and there's still an overconcentration of licenses within that area. Additionally, within proximity, you have 3 existing licenses located at the Stater Brothers. the Iron City Wines and Spirits, and the 7-Eleven store within 500-foot radius of that area. Because of that, the property in itself does not meet the city's distance separation from sensitive uses to other alcohol licenses, as well as other residential neighborhoods, because it's immediately abutting those residential neighborhoods. At the time, we did send the information to the police department in order for them to run their crime statistics and also review the project for an overconcentration of licenses and proximity to other residential neighborhoods. They did not provide a recommendation at that time. The crime statistics did not exceed within the district area. However, due to the overconcentration and the proximity to the sensitive uses, residential, as well as the other licenses within the vicinity, we are recommending denial of the proposed project site because it's not meeting the city's general plan goals. So with that, our recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2022-002, denying the conditional use permit 21-01 and public inconvenience or necessity letter based on findings of fact. I am here for any questions, and we do have the applicant here as well.
Okay, thank you. I hereby open the public hearing for item number 3. Is there anyone wishing to speak on item number 3?
Mr. Evans?
Turn on your microphone, please.
Oh, okay. Good evening. My name is Dick Evett. I'm All-Star Realty. I've been in the business brokerage for going on 30 years. I've worked with the city of San Bernardino and many cities in the area. I appreciate you having me here this evening. I prepared a letter showing some of the objects that have been prepared for you. First of all, the ABC license of 4 on hand, that is only a suggestion. It's a guideline. It doesn't mean that it's in concrete that you have to have only 4. You can have as many as 12 in other cities. So that's just a mute point. Now, the store itself has been operating for quite a number of years. I have I've prepared, oh, by the way, I would like to thank your staff. They are very effective and very helpful in my planning and get here, so give them a good view on that. I do appreciate that. Okay, the police report says that this is not a high crime area, so that should be left that in consideration. And if you look at the site plan, which you have already seen, on both sides of the store are commercial properties. No houses are even close by. Across the street is the Stater Brothers Shopping Center and a liquor store. And behind it is a big vacant field. The people walking around don't have a chance to walk in back doors and come into the store. They've never had a problem, as far as over the years that I have known, with this store having any problems with ABC, the state, or anybody. The statement of over-concentrated is very, very normal. If you approve and if you were to recommend and approve the 21 for this location, the 20 would be canceled and therefore would have no effect on the number of licenses in an over-concentrated area. This is allowed by the city if they so desire. The hours are very reasonable. They don't keep late hours. They're open at reasonable hours, and at nighttime, they're closed down. They don't have any problems. If there's any questions that you need, I'll be glad to answer any questions that might come forward.
Thank you for that presentation. You work for All-Star Realty, or is that your company there?
I'm sorry, my hearing isn't very good.
No, you work directly for All-Star Realty?
Yes.
And is All-Star Realty, are they working for a specific owner? Are you managing the property? What's the relation to the actual owner?
No, I'm an independent contractor. I do my own things, and I help clients throughout the Inland Empire obtaining various licenses, on sale, off sale, or whatever kind of license and I've been doing this for about 30 years.
Okay, clients, there's a key word. So, and at this particular property, there is a client that you are representing or working with on getting this.
I'm sorry.
So on this property here, I believe it's at 2144.
Yes.
You have a client that you are representing there to get this license?
That's correct. I'm trying to assist him and the city and recommending approval. And this, like I say, he has groceries. He has a lot of items in there. I'm not saying anything bad against the liquor, but it's a liquor store, not a convenience store. Stater Brothers and Food for Less, they have to have those licenses. The gas station has a small amount of beer and wine in it, but they don't have a lot of room. This is a full convenience, and this becomes what is necessary as a convenience for the customers who want to come in, buy the tobacco, buy the groceries, buy lotto tickets, pay bills and so forth, and buy liquor and go home.
Yeah.
This has never been a problem with most of the liquor stores or the markets that I work with.
And the specific client that you are working with on this, do you have any idea how long they've been operating, they themselves have been operating that market?
This particular store has been in over 30 years, I know, because I worked with the previous owner before his wife died. So I know I've sold the store before, and I know all about the store.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. Thank you. What are the hours of operation currently?
Hours are from 7 to 11.
7 to 11?
7 days a week.
Thank you.
They close at 11.
Oliver, if you could explain to this in the full packet, there was a police report dealing with this site. Could you explain to us what was going on in that?
So they did their investigation, as Elizabeth mentioned. They where they go out, they report what the crime statistics are, how many, not specifically at that location, but in the reporting area, right? So this is not necessarily considered a high crime area by the police standards. One of the things that they did identify, and we didn't include as part of the conversation or as part of the report, our written report anyway, is that there have been some ongoing investigations on the property owner operating that facility. So there were some investigations that are not related to the application, but as it relates to the operation of their business in terms of the types of activity that should not be going on there.
Yes.
I have one more comment. Talk about the hard liquor. That will be kept behind the sales counter and only available to the clerk on duty. You just can't walk in the store, run to the bar, or run someplace, you grab a bar, roll out the window. It's very controlled, and they're very excited about this. I hope you have gone to the store to see what the store is like, and check the other stores around the area.
Yes. My main concern is, unfortunately, as I was reading the report, there is attached a police report of the investigation of kind of checking the property, making sure the census, as it is 74.110, it is actually oversaturated in the area. And during that investigation, they did see some unsightly things that were going on the property. I don't know if, is it allowed to disclose a little bit, or?
It's part of public record from the police
Public
department.
record. There was illegal activity going on. There was a gambling cafe that was in the back.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Unfortunately, on this site, according to police report, there was an illegal gambling cafe in the back. Drugs were being sold on the premises. So there.
I was unaware of that because I have nothing to do with any of the areas.
Oh, I
just
understand,
working
sir.
with the liquor store, and I apologize for not knowing more about that.
It is actually on the website in the full report for this.
That operation, I understand. I talked to him afterwards, and it has ceased.
Yes. So there was a full investigation, and there's ongoing a case with the owner at this point. So as much as I understand your point of view of wanting to move this from a type 20 to 21, there is an ongoing police investigation with the owner about this premises. So I think this might not be the correct time to move forward with this until that is resolved and the owner takes care of that and then comes back. So thank you for your time, and I do appreciate you bringing this letter to us. Unfortunately, I think we probably might agree that this might not be the right time until the police finish their investigation. So thank you.
If I may add, Commissioners, there is an overconcentration in the area. So we're allowed for four licenses, and they're over by the one. And there's a process for that, an application. Typically it's a CUP, and then we ask if it's an overconcentration. The other part of the app they need to submit is a public convenience or necessity letter. That's to go above and beyond what ABC allows for that census tract. There have been other times when we brought other items before you with that similar thing where there's been that overconcentration. But typically, they'll be overconcentrated by 2 or 3 or what have you, but they're spread out. And as an example, we had a couple where, some of them are up here on like 5th Street, and the others are down on Waterman somewhere. And we'll show you a chart where it says it's a mile away or whatever that distance is. In this particular case, when it came before us, we've got a corner where there's the alcohol is all it's not just concentrated, but it's all it's in one location, physically concentrated, not just as census tract. So that's what we wanted to be mindful on. And then not that it's considered tonight, but you see on the area, you see that large vacant parcel. We currently have an application for a residential development there, a gated community that's coming in, and so we're trying to be a little forward thinking in terms of what's going to or what's planned in the immediate area and what the existing conditions are. So that's kind of the premise for our recommendation. So we did look, if it's over concentrated, but it's the proximity more than anything else. And so in the future, when there's an over concentration, if our recommendation would be for someone else for an approval, it would be because there's large distances between the stores, kind of a thing. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to the premise of our recommendation this evening.
And as I said in my letter, I personally mailed letters to all the residents within 500 feet as required by ABC, which includes any apartment. For the apartment house, 12 units, they each get a letter. So I personally mailed all those out. I had no response according to ABC, they have not received any response. I prepared some a sign on at the store for the customers, and I had a bunch of letters or signatures saying that they want to support the store because they live in the area. It's very convenient for them. They don't want to have to wait in long lines at Stater Brothers if they want to buy a bottle of booze or run over to the liquor store. They said this is more of a personal store. And with the economy like it is, we're doing everything in the world to try and keep this business afloat. And with the small sales of alcohol, that will help eliminate some of the problem that we're having right now. So economics is a real important issue here.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay. If anyone else would like to speak on
Thank
this
you.
matter, thank you, sir. If not, I hereby close the public hearing for this item. May I entertain a motion?
I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2022-002 denying the conditional use permit 2106 and public convenience or necessity letter 21-01 based on the findings, facts, and the finding of project subject to statutory exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act.
I'll second.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Chair Guerrero, how do you vote?
Aye.
And then Commissioner Lopez?
No.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Aye.
Commissioner Quill?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Armstead? Yes. And then Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, for denying, yes.
So just want to confirm, Commissioner Lopez, you want to approve it? No, I don't want to. Okay, so you want to, okay. So you want to, yes, to deny it. Okay, just confirm. Thank you. Okay. All right, so it's denied. Yes means no. Yes, what she said, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 4, staff report, please.
If I may, on this last item, there is so that the applicant is aware, there is a 15-day appeal period from today, or starting tomorrow. So if they choose to appeal this action to the City Council, they have 15 days in order to do that. Item number 4 is development permit type P 2101 and variance 21-02. It's for the property located on the east side of Ferndale Avenue, just south of 39th Street. The proposal is for a 29-unit multifamily residential development. The site is approximately 1 acre, and the property is located within the residential medium-high zone. The aerial or the zoning map that's on the screen shows the project site, which is a dark brown. That is zoned residential medium high. The yellow that's surrounding it to the north and to the east is suburban residential, and then we have the county that's to the south and to the west. This is an aerial showing the site. It's currently vacant. And so you have Ferndale, which runs along here, the western edge. This is 39th Street across the top. And then this down here is an alley that abuts the project site. So the property is comprised of 2 different structures. Let me forward one a bit here. So this is the overall site plan, and what the challenge that the development team is facing is that there is a seismic zone that runs diagonally through the site. Because of that requirement, buildings have to be a certain distance away from that, and so that's what led to the design of the driveway coming at a diagonal, and the buildings splitting either side. Originally, there was a higher density. There were more units that were being proposed, but because of some of the other requirements as it relates to the off-street parking and the open space areas, we had to reduce the number of the number of dwelling units for the site. So I just kind of wanted to give you a feel for how the project evolved and why we have this. There's a variance that's being requested because our code requires a 10-foot setback right up here. And again, because of the placement of the building and all the other design factors, there's only a little less than 5 feet setback here. And so that's, we believe that there was an unusual circumstance to support the variance because of the hardship of the seismic zone that's on site, causing the kind of the diagonal layout of the buildings. And we feel that this is a unique situation, and therefore we were able to support that setback requirement. The construction of the building will be such that for fire purposes, so there's enough distance there by the building codes that it eliminates that hazard or a fire hazard because of the closeness to the property lines. If I may go back a little bit here. So again, we have the two buildings, as you saw. So in Building A, we've got 12 units, 6 on each floor, which are a mixture of one and two bedrooms, 1 baths. Building B is again 2 stories, has 4 units on top and bottom. Again, the 1 bedroom, 2 bath, or excuse me, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Project, it has a total of 40 spaces. 36 are for the residents per our code, and there's 4 guest units. And the driveways and access will be from Ferndale and the alley. This here is showing the again kind of an exploded view of the setback requirement. So again, the red line would be the 10-foot building setback, and as you could see, it's approximately half of what is recovered just in this little section here. So it's just this little protrusion here is what is within the setback area. Of course, the rest of the buildings, structures are well outside of the setback requirement. This is looking at the project site. This here to the left, this is Ferndale, and this is the alley. Again, this is the site plan as shown earlier. So we have our open space. I believe there's a landscaping plan. So here's the floor plans showing the driveway down the middle, and then you have the buildings on either side of the driveway. These are the elevations. So the elevation on the top is what you would see facing the exterior. The bottom elevation, this is the elevation that would be facing the driveway that runs diagonally down the site. So as you drive your down the driveway access, so they can pull into their garage doors. These are the garages here. And again, this is the landscape plan. This provides the common open space. I'm sorry. So you have the common open space areas here. Has some activity areas here for the residents to use. We have another common open space area down in here as well. Each project, each unit, I should say, also has its private balconies. And with that, our recommendation is the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2022-003, making the CEQA finding that the project is exempt and approving both the development permit and the variance. I'd be glad to answer any questions. The project architect is also here, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Oliver, I have a question. What is it that goes down through the center? Is that a fault line or?
It's like a seismic fault, yes.
Okay.
It's a small zone, but they did their. I'm sorry, they did their geotechnical report, and it was discovered, and so that's where they. That's what caused that. You're welcome.
Thank you. Go ahead and open up the public hearing. Sir.
Thank you. Madam Chair, my name is Gary Miller with Miller Architectural Corporation, 1177 Idaho Street, Redlands, California, GARYMILLER. If it's possible, could you put up that site plan that was on here? Yes, thank you. Just one minor clarification. The seismic no-build zone are indicated by two dashed lines. You can see them extending up to the top left of the sheet. So we're further to the left, all the way to the left, if you would, with it. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right. She's just better than I am. All right. I do this with my cat, but okay, I see it. There we go. Okay, so that is one of the lines. So we're not allowed to build in this area here. And the other line is right there, and we're not allowed to build in that area. So thus the diagonal orientation of the, thank you, of the units, which you can understand makes it a little challenging to build and to develop. The size of the property and the zoning density would have allowed us to build up to 22 units, but the configuration just really didn't allow us to do that. This, we think, is a nice solution. We have a nice corner area that's nicely landscaped. We have a triangular portion in the back that's private for the use of the residences, and we have that trellis work where we have a barbecue and some picnic benches for the residents. The parking is removed from the street, not visible from the street. We think that's a desirable thing. The garages are not visible from the street except at the very corner. So overall, we think it's an enhancement to the neighborhood. This is an infill property. There's development all around it, so we think it's desirable for the city and those of us who love the city of San Bernardino to fill in these vacant areas and get more neighbors into our community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, commissioners? Go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
So, is there some standard or something somewhere that, I mean, I guess the geologist, I don't know what, you got to help me with this. We're building this building right next to a fault line, or what?
Well, we're building, there is a fault in the area. There's a lot of faults in San Bernardino,
sure.
right?
I mean, we get that.
And so the state and the geology industry has established this safe zone outside the fault to make sure we never put any kind of building that straddles a fault. And you have to stay 50 feet away from any fault line. So that's what we have in this case.
I see. Okay. And so there's no, I'm just having a hard time even wondering why we're even doing that. So do you get reports on how active that fault line is, or how active it's been, or, I mean, because we're putting people here.
We are, and I'd like to point out that there's people across the street that this fault line runs directly through their homes. So we've applied more science to this property than has been applied to any property built prior to probably the 80s. And we have a geologist who's staked their license on the fact that this is safe, as safe as anything can be in California. And secondly, that the state, it also follows the state guidelines with respect to distance from an active fault.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And if I may add to that, the building code, the state uniform building code, does have building standards that address seismic zone areas as well. So any special areas as seismic zones, if you're in near a flood zone, liquefaction zones, those kinds of things. And so depending on what your geology report says, it'll trigger what your foundations and your walls how they've got to be constructed and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's an excellent point. May I just quickly add to that, is as part of that building code, because they established these zones of severity, most of San Bernardino is in a higher severity zone, and so not only have we kept a distance away from the fault, but when we engineer the building itself is engineered to a higher standard. That's our state watching out for us there.
I would just like to comment, that's a pretty creative design to work around that piece of property like that, Gary.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
nice.
Would you consider this a gated community in there, or?
It is gated. There are existing block walls on the interior property lines, and the alley side and the street side, we're proposing wrought iron fencing.
Oh, that's graffiti. Very good.
All right, yes, along those lines, I was actually going to ask, because it's actually conditions of approval number 24F about the block wall, and I was wondering what sides, and so you just answered that, so thank you.
All right.
So we're having a split face wall on most ends, and then a wrought iron fence for which portion of the property?
On the street side, which is the left in
Okay.
that view, and the alley side, so it'll be secured from the alley as well. There are existing block walls on the two interior property lines,
Okay,
and they're 6 feet high.
6 feet high, perfect. Okay. Could you address kind of security and lights, maintenance? How is that going to be taken care of?
Yes. Lighting, the city has a good standard for lighting, and so the parking lot is well lit at the standard that the city police department has dictated. The drive in between is lit with building-mounted lights. As you know, we're not allowed to allow any light that is generated on our property to spill over on our neighbors, so they're screened in such a way that that won't happen. There's lighting in the patio so that they can, just like in your own home, you might have a light over your patio. And then from a security standpoint, it's like most single-family homes. That's up to the individual. There's no overall camera system. We just think because it's gated, there's a pretty high level of security already.
In terms of maintenance for, little park areas and such, who would be in charge of that?
That's, the landlord is in charge of that, and the conditions of approval require the landscaping to be maintained. So if it ever were to fall into a state of disrepair, they would be cited for that and repair it. But the landlord, not the tenants, are required to maintain the landscaping.
So we have a total of, is it 20 units?
Yes, sir. 20 units, 10 one-bedroom,
20
10
units,
two.
which, okay, so with it being 20 units, we now have an on-site personnel that's there 24/7, or how does that work?
On a project of this size, they usually have a resident who is an on-site manager.
Yes. And that's already
That's
figured
what's
into
planned
this?
for, yes.
Okay. All right.
Will this building have solar or consideration for any EV charging parking spot?
EV charging is a requirement by the state, so yes, it will have the infrastructure for that. It's up to the landlord whether or not they actually put that in. It's wired for it. It can be there if residents have request it and actually have an EV vehicle, then it can be installed within a few days. As far as solar on the roof, again, this is a state requirement. It's pre-wired for that, but at this time it's not planned for solar. They're not installing solar at the time of the original construction.
We're mentioning quite a bit at the landlord. Who is the landlord? Are they present or?
They're not present, but there are 3 San Bernardino residents who are real estate owners who own the property and will manage the property and have other rentals that they own, and so they're experienced in this business and maintain their properties very well.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments, questions from commissioners? Okay. Anyone else that would like to speak on this item? All right, since none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And may I entertain a motion? Mike.
I motion to approve resolution number 2022-003. Okay.
I second.
Second, okay.
Right.
Call for
Chair
the-
Guerrero, how do you vote?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Quill? Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
And then Commissioner, the Vice Chair Arbuthnot, excuse me. And then Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
It is approved.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, we'll move on to item number 5. Staff report, please.
Commissioners, does anyone recognize this one? We got to spend a nice Saturday together. So we did have our meeting out on Saturday as a follow-up. So I can show, if there's any particular part of the presentation that you want to see over again, or we do have the applicant that's here this evening that's prepared to answer some questions, or we have any comments, whatever the pleasure of the commission is.
If I may. I want to thank all the representatives from BNSF and Kelly Horn. They going out was, oh my goodness, that was big. We got a chance to see firsthand how this is going to work, and to my surprise, there's a lot of benefits that our city and our community and residents are going to get out of this. There's one thing that I would like to see happen, and that's that last stretch of track that runs from, I believe, is that Ibarra's Mark? No, it runs from 6th to just up to the overpass. I would like to see that instead of stopping the sound wall, back there where I don't know exactly where it stops, but I'd like to see it run the full length to as close as you can get to that underpass. I understand there's some structural stuff that permits you from, getting too close to it, but, that way we're covering even the residents right there at what would be the south end of that track. And, but other than that, I think it's, go ahead.
And then clarification on that block wall. Can you give me clarification on maintenance of that block wall, please? That's very important. It's a graffiti wall.
I must concur with both our Vice Chair and Commissioner Lewis. I've kind of driven that as well, checked it myself. I wasn't able to make it on Saturday, but having the entire length of the expansion actually covered by that soundproof, cinder block, that'd be wonderful. With, greenery to offset it and everything, make sure that the sound doesn't go through. I think that would be very important. And then, as Vice Chair mentioned, having some form of ivy or something to cover it. I think on one of the other properties, it actually does have some ivy on it. Kind of helps prevent the graffiti. So I would like to see that added onto this.
At our previous commission meeting, we had also talked about, like we talked about, a real tight landscaping or bush on there that can be maintained, and I think that would help in the graffiti situation. And we also talked about additional lighting, perhaps, in the residential areas only. So with that other condition that you're suggesting, that we bring the sound wall from 5th up to 6th Street, I think that would probably suit the commission.
If I may, for a little bit of clarification, so as you may have noticed on the resolution, there aren't any conditions of approval. And typically it's, for street vacations, and they've been here before on other, there's been other applications for street vacations. And so ultimately this is a city council action. So if you were to, as you're contemplating that you'd like to see the wall extended or landscaping or whatever the case is, that we would add those as, so whatever your action is, adoption of a resolution, whatever. This was the vote on that. Along with that vote, the Planning Commission is also recommending to the council these, consideration of these conditions, and just so you're aware of how that would be handled.
I have a question. I have a question. Yes, I have a question.
I'm happy to listen before I say anything. So it sounds like you all have quite a bit to say. So if you'd like to ask questions or just talk, I'll speak afterward.
The very last site that you took us to, past baseline, it was the very last site. Is that house for purchase, the very last house on that street?
Yes, BNSF is purchasing it.
Okay, because the line where the wall was going to be comes up right behind it. So you are purchasing that house.
Yes, we are purchasing it.
And there was a gentleman there, one of the residents, some of the residents did come out, who said he lived on 6th Street, and he could hear the train coming every time it came. And I know he spoke to you and to the other lady, and said his house rumbled. And he said he also complained about his fruit and vegetable growing. And he said that a lot of the people here who are going to make the decision will go and make the decision because they don't live there. And then what? Then they'll go away happy, but they don't live there. And he was not happy with even though it didn't, the train or the wall didn't come up to his property, he says he can hear the train and it rumbled his house, and he didn't get any sleep. And I told him I would consider that. The pollution, the noise, and the fact that every time the train passes by, that it creates a lot of noise.
Thank you. So, thank you for joining us on Saturday. I thought it was very, very helpful. I've been coughing ever since Saturday, so hopefully I won't have a coughing fit tonight and I can speak clearly. But I want to make sure I heard what was said as I was walking up. One, Commissioner, you want the wall to be extended as far south as possible. Commissioner, you wanted to make sure we're going to maintain the wall. And then, Commissioner, you mentioned the gentleman that lived at 6th and I Street that was bothered by the noise and the proximity to the tracks. Did I miss anything? Are those?
The lighting
The lighting?
and the
And
and
the
the
ivy
landscape.
or the bush.
Okay. I'll ask for reinforcements if I need them, but my understanding is that all of the streets that are going to be rebuilt, and we went through and looked at each one of those on Saturday, will all be lighted to city standards. I think you saw an example of what that's going to look like on Home Street on the cul-de-sac. And so those neighborhoods are going to be lighted and brightened up, and it's all going to be done according to city standards. So that's lighting. The maintenance of the wall, this is BNSF's wall, so they will maintain the wall. The extension of the wall south, this is the problem with that. Let me explain the problem and then let's talk about it. First of all, I wanted to point out there was an error in one of the diagrams we were looking at of that segment between 6th and Spruce. It showed a track moving closer to Ibarra's Market, and that drawing is an error. There's not going to be any change in the trackage in that area. So I wanted to just call that out since we did actually talk about that, and we later discovered that the drawing was in error. The problem with extending the wall all the way down is that BNSF doesn't have a way to get its equipment into the trackage areas to maintain it. And it needs an opening. And that's what that area has been used for in the past, was an opening for its equipment to get into the track area to perform maintenance. Now, we're sensitive to the gentleman at 6th and I Street, and we did talk to him at length about his concerns. We believe that we could extend the wall down beyond his house so that his house would be behind the wall. Mr. Ibarra doesn't want the wall built because, as he says, he's used to it. And as I pointed out, we have this problem with our equipment access. But be that as it may, we would be willing to extend the wall down past the gentleman that lives at 6th and I Street, so that he would be completely blocked from the noise and the impacts of the trains as they go by. That would be our effort to try to tell him we're concerned and to try to address his concern.
Does a wall stop vibration?
We, excuse me just a moment. Rita, do we have?
So his concerns will not be met.
Can you come up for a second? Rita Garcia is going to talk a little bit about the vibration issue.
Yeah, good evening, Rita Garcia with Kimley Horn. Glad to see all of you again tonight. And Commissioner, yes, to specifically answer your question, it would the proposed block wall that Mark has just described would not diminish vibration, but in particular at the location that we're discussing, which is at the corner of 6th and I Street, there is no change in the trackage, so there is no change from existing conditions. There is no change in operations. In fact, the idling is going to reduce. Therefore, we're anticipating that there be a reduction in impacts, but the wall itself will not diminish the impact. That is an existing condition, that the project itself and the proposed improvements do not result in a change or a greater impact.
And you'll recall, we talked about this on Saturday, that because this is an efficiency project, the air impacts are going to be improved, reduced by about 43% due to the avoidance of truck idling or train idling as they enter and exit the yard. So we think there are a lot of things going on here that will lessen the impacts of that siting along those residents, and we think the wall, of course, is a major part of that.
So just how far south can that wall be extended?
Well, I think we estimated 200 feet, 280 feet south of 6th Street. That would allow room for BNSF to get its equipment in and out of the right-of-way, and yet it would protect the gentleman who we've been speaking about from noise and other impacts.
And then as far as any type of ivy, anything like that, I know we've talked about graffiti
Yes.
Being an issue and some type of special treatment or anything like that, but eventually that'll get worn off. But if we can propose
we do have
some type of landscape, just not just for graffiti purposes, but for aesthetics.
We do have a proposal for you to consider. As we discussed Saturday, there is almost 10,000 lineal feet of wall that's being constructed. About 2,100 lineal feet of that was necessary to mitigate noise impacts. Approximately 7,500 feet was simply being done to be a good neighbor, to shield residents from the noise of the trains. We're skeptical about the landscaping, but we're prepared to do ivy that would attach to the walls. It would be fully irrigated. We're prepared to do 2,100 lineal feet of that on the theory that that is the lineal footage of wall that was required to mitigate our impacts, and that we would be prepared to not only landscape 2,100 lineal feet of walls, and most of that is in the area of the houses. So it would be attractive. We hope it would not be an impediment to graffiti maintenance, but we're willing to try it because I know that it's important to you all and it's important to the neighbors. So I guess I would like to make that as a proposal.
One more thing, just a minor clarification on the extension of the wall to the south behind the neighbor in question at 6th Street. That is about to the rear yard of the gentleman's house. It's not all the way down the block. So just to clarify that.
I understand that you guys need to have access. However, I would still like to see the wall going the entirety of the expansion. Yes, I understand needing kind of some access points. However, this was one vocal neighbor, but there are several other people who are quite shy in that neighborhood who are probably, seeing that group walk by but thinking they can't say anything. So for those neighbors that, didn't speak up, I'd like to talk on their behalf and say we should actually extend it as far as possible. So as close as we can, still giving you these access points as needed, but I'd still like to see everything else covered. And as you said, I would like to see the ivy to appease the other neighbors.
Could we continue to work on that so that when this matter comes up before council, we fully flesh that out? We probably should do some more research on just what the issues are with the extension of that wall all the way down. But I guess that would be my request. You know, I feel like we're making a lot of movement tonight, and a lot of that is a result of your willingness to spend time with us last Saturday and actually dig into this. So we feel we're making progress, and we'd like to keep working on the wall as we move on to council. And I'm sure you will make your wishes known to council on that wall. And we will continue to evaluate that and research it.
And just another little additional clarification is that BNSF is subject to CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, requirements concerning accessibility, and they do have to, in compliance with those standards, keep a clearance between the center of the track and any area beyond it. So that's one of the additional constraints in certain areas. And in this area in particular, between 5th and 6th, if you look at the plans that have been provided, the track kind of moves slightly, let's see, it angles to the south, to the west. Yeah, angles to the west, so it isn't entirely parallel to the roadway, so that's a further constraint right around Spruce Street to extending the wall further. And then just another point concerning the wall is that everywhere that we do propose a wall and along the segment of the corridor where we're proposing improvements, the noise conditions are better than under existing conditions. So we've improved the noise environment throughout the length of the project.
So these are the sorts of things we probably need to get into and research some more, because we are subject, as Rita says, to the California Public Utility Commission regulations regarding our the safety of our track areas and the safety even while they're being maintained. So I guess what I would respectfully request is that you pass this on, recommend us on to the council, and I know you will make it known to the council that you want that wall extended, and we'll keep working on that. I'll give you my word. We'll work sincerely at it.
If you're amenable to it, we would like to add that onto them. I think several of the commissioners would like to say extending that to its entirety to, as long as it's feasible. So we would like to add that along with the lighting for the neighborhoods, the ivy in terms of graffiti. So we would like to add that, and we will kind of add that into there. Okay?
That's fine. Fair enough, and thank you very much.
Oliver, do you put that into your recommendation to the council? Is that how this works? You do that?
Yes, it will be.
Well, I do want to say thank you for the taking the time out of your schedules this past Saturday and giving us a clearer view of the project. As a neighbor, as a partner within the city, and longtime, community partner, BNSF. So thank you for working alongside
We're pleased
with
to
us
do that. Thank
as
you.
well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am. We have 2 people that are interested in speaking, 3 people. Have you all filled out a request form? And you will be sworn in as well. Okay. The forms are right over here if you haven't yet. Thank you.
Let's do the oath really quick.
So if the 4 of you can please stand.
So if anyone that wants to speak, please raise your right hand. And then do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Okay? All right, so first up, what was your name?
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ochoa. I'm a resident here in San Bernardino, and I volunteer with the California Air Resources Board Community Air Grant Program for the AB 617 Environmental Justice Community, otherwise known as the West Side area of San Bernardino, near the BNSF rail yard. The West Side area is undoubtedly burdened with environmental and noise pollution. Residents are already disproportionately faced with respiratory health illnesses due to the rail yard. This information, along with other alarming statistics, is available through the Cal EnviroScreen. I'm sure you're all familiar with that online tool. Given these disparities, it is completely disheartening to hear about the potential expansion of the rail yard. This is yet another form of environmental racism and discrimination that will cause irreversible effects to the livelihoods and well-being of residents. The jobs the expansion is promising is not safe for community members. They do not provide a livable wage and are overall unsustainable. When asked about mitigation efforts, a spokeswoman for the project mentioned reduced truck and train idling. This is incomparable to the increase in particulate matter and ozone pollution this project will certainly produce. This expansion is not healthy, safe, and suitable for residents. I have already heard firsthand community concerns over the impacts of the rail yard they live with on a regular basis. They have lost loved ones and suspect it was caused by the emissions of the enormous rail yard. I've heard residents speak their concerns through canvassing and distributing air monitors through the Community Air Grant Program. They are scared for their children. They are scared themselves. I ask that you reconsider the impacts of this project and ultimately place people over profit. Thank you.
Next, Alicia Ogayo.
Hi, y'all. Some of you might remember me. I was there on Saturday, and I'm a resident of the West Side. I live on 10th Street, where we were at the second stop with the Salvation Army. I live very close to this project, so I hear y'all talking about the residents impacted, and that's me, one of them, and my family, and a lot of my neighbors. And just like Ben, I had a lot of concerns that day. So my family has lived on 10th Street for over 2 decades, and not once has BNSF or the city engaged with us, those who live next to the railway. So this is like the first time that I'm hearing about it. The day of the tour, I asked what was the process for community engagement. I don't know if y'all heard, but I heard 2 things. They said they put it in the newspaper, and then the other thing was there was a neighborhood association meeting. But to me, that's not enough. A lot of the community in this area, like a lot of us work, and that's simply just not enough, like at all. And there was a lack of translation provided during this process, and these are just not standards for a community like a lot of the people on the West Side. And they lay these things out in the reports. This is an EJ community. This is a community that's low income, speaks heavily Spanish, so there should have been more engagement during this process. And I continuously hear that there's going to be no significant impact according to the law, but how could they assess that without having spoken to residents? Because I'll tell you right now, like a lot of the people, I know a lot of my neighbors and a lot of us, we're looking out. This is the first time we're seeing this. We're curious, and I talked to a couple people that, I don't know if during the tour you saw some of my neighbors out. I was asking them, have you heard about this? And they were like, no. We were not given this information with substantial notice. So I do understand that BNSF is a big partner for the city, and I get that, but for many of us, we struggle to support this project because there's just not consent. You know, we're not engaged properly as community and residents. So that's one of the biggest reasons that for me, I oppose things like this and a lot of community members, because these things are not done with truly being with us in mind and truly being engaged. Because there could have been a lot of canvassing, knocking on people's doors to talk to community residents, because yeah, maybe I'm not like literally right next to it, but it will be impacting me and several of my neighbors. They're literally moving these emissions closer to my home. So I'm asking you, the Planning Commission, to change this culture and to push this vote and allow more time for community engagement, and really listen to residents.
Thank you. Next, Christian Flores.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Flores, and I'm a community organizer with Inland Congregations United for Change and a resident of the First Ward of the City of San Bernardino. First off, I wanted to commend Commissioners Lewis and Flores in regards to the last meeting's conversation about the displacement of families and potentially 149 people within the homes in those areas, and comparing it to the Regional Housing Needs Assessment for the City of San Bernardino, which as of the last cycle received a D, because paying for the properties, though it gives those that are homeowners the opportunity to make something of it, for the 7 multifamily households, those are tenants who don't really have a choice in regards to what the property owner decides to do with that property. And ultimately, the city nor BNSF have very much responsibility outside of the relocation in regards to how the Regional Housing Needs Assessment plays out, because that is reliant upon developers that are willing to create housing within the area. So that is a very different issue, or I guess tangential, all the same. And I want to reiterate what Alicia had just said prior to this in regards to mediocre community engagement efforts in an attempt to expedite project approval is something that happens very, very often within the city of San Bernardino, and that's a practice and a culture that needs to change. Even for the folks from those 43 properties that live right where the project is being built, there's the residual emissions and everything else that affects many of the schools and other areas outside. And yes, it was even at the last meeting, it was admitted that the neighborhood association only covers the bottom half of that project area, but that doesn't mean why haven't there been efforts in regards to connecting with places of worship, congregations, schools, partnering up with the school district in regards to really engaging most of the community who is impacted by this. And additionally, setting the standard, especially as a result of the pandemic, to make everything even more accessible through video recordings, Zooms, translation services, to make sure that this could have even been a virtual tour that could be hosted on the city's website or something to continue to educate people on the project. And even so, there's not necessarily a guarantee that idling and such will be diminished by that specific percentage. So there's other tools that can be used, like restrictions and fines. Thank you.
Next, Ray Sanchez, please.
Hi, I'm Ray Sanchez. I'm president of the neighborhood association that I'm trying to build in the west side. My area is from Baseline to Fifth Street, from the freeway to Mount Vernon. I walked the streets handing out flyers to let them know we were having a neighborhood association with the people with the railroad. I literally walked every house almost. I made the flyers to let them know. I had maybe 6 people show up to the meeting. But I have a lot of people asking me questions about the lighting, how it's going to be maintained, and the extension of the wall. That's a real big problem. You know, they want to know that. But like I said, in the Latino community, we don't speak out. They rather keep to themselves. Now, I had translators there. I have people, you know, coming to my meetings, and I'm trying to get them better. And you guys, I thank you. You did come out to my meeting. You bring flyers. You bring everything and explained it to us. But people are still coming to ask me how far the wall's going to go. And I didn't know you guys were there at Raul's store, Ibarra's Market, else I would have been there. So those are some of the things. The lighting, I want to know, is it just going to light I Street? Is it going to increase traffic? You know, because I'm right a block up, and our house has been there for 100 years, so, as I told you before. So speaking Spanish, I have representatives that come out with me, but I've walked the area, and there's so many questions that they have. So I just hope you can help us a little more, you know. I'm trying to communicate with the people. It's very hard, though. So, thank you.
Thank you. If I could ask for just a brief moment of recess, I need to ask our attorney something, please. Is that, okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much. We'll go ahead and resume at 7:53 p.m. And I want to read into the record that I did receive a message via text from Jim Penman. It reads, I request that the commission's approval be conditioned on the wall being extended south past Spruce Street and the ivy be required all along the wall. And I'm reading that into the record. Thank you.
Great. I have a question. You mentioned that the railroad is having issues regarding access for equipment, et cetera, west of I Street. A question, because I don't understand, why can't the railroad access from the other side of the tracks, from the east side of the tracks?
From the freeway
We
side?
don't know.
We will look into that. We'll thoroughly evaluate that before the council
It's a
meeting and
question.
be ready to address that.
And that way it wouldn't be an issue extending that wall.
Yes, I understand.
In front of that lady's house.
I understand.
Do I need to swear in? Okay, so I would say, yeah, we definitely will take it back and evaluate it, but because you have multiple lines there, you can't cross a vehicle over the tracks to get to the other side.
Okay, that's
So
what
for
you mean.
example, let's say, for example, like I explained at the meeting, that we have wayside detectors where it will look at every single wheel that goes by, and it'll make sure that there's no flat spots on that rail car wheel. So let's say it detects when and it goes by and they stop that train. We need to be able to get a vehicle on that side so that they could safely get in there and inspect that train and make any repairs, and also any repairs on that side of the track. Let's say you have a moving vehicle that's moving by there and a moving train. They need to have enough clearance so they don't get hit by a train. And when you look at the charts, you can see right where that house is between 5th and 6th, or Spruce and 6th. You can see right where it says vacated, you can see where that track starts to verge towards the street. And that's the area where we've looked at, like we went out there and we're putting our heads together, we're doing what we can to try to see if we can figure this out, but that's what the problem is. And the PUC requires us to have a certain amount of space between the center of the track and then the wall so that you don't hit a vehicle that's out there working. It's purely a safety. And you know, Commissioner, you know, we talked about, you know, safety, and, you know, you brought up Duffy. It is critical that we maintain our track infrastructure for everybody that lives out there. We have to be able to get and do maintenance. And so I would just ask that you take that into consideration when you're looking at this, that safety has to be first and foremost. And I assure you we'll go back and we'll do whatever we can, but we are willing to extend the wall at least past, right where it says the V or the parentheses is, right there, to try to at least accommodate the resident that's right there on the corner of 6th Street and I Street. Or Spruce Street, I think that's Spruce, right? Or I Street, sorry, 6 and I.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anything? Okay. Then I'll close the public.
Madam Chair, before you do that, if you would like to invite the applicant to respond, if they have any response to any of the other public comments given, this would be the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you.
I promise I'll be brief, but I did want to respond to a few of the comments, which I appreciate. This is a good project. It's an environmentally friendly project. We have no unmitigatable significant impacts. All significant impacts of the project have been mitigated, and they've been mitigated because the nature of the project is to increase the efficiency of the trains moving in and out of the yard. So by its nature, this is a project that reduces impacts. So when we say that there is a 43% reduction in air impacts associated with avoidance of idling as trains are trying to get in and out of the A yard, this is documented. This was peer reviewed by the city's independent consultant. The AQMD did not take exception to this. They reviewed our EIR and did not take exception with our air analysis. And then finally, I just wanted to say, the gentleman that lives at 6th and I Street is a Spanish language speaker, and we spoke to him in Spanish on Saturday. Rita had a very detailed conversation with him in Spanish, so anyone who wanted to speak Spanish, there was a Spanish language speaker to assist them in answering their questions. And then finally, and then I won't say any more, on 3 separate occasions, we sent out notices to everybody residing within 500 feet of the project on 3 separate occasions. When the notice of preparation was issued, when the notice of availability was issued, and when we went to our first planning commission. So we believe that there's been a lot of notice given, and we have tried to give notice and encourage conversation. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention tonight, and I hope we've answered your questions. Thank you.
Okay, with that being, then I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Through the chair, I would like to also mention that I received a text message from Jim Penman, and he is representing La Placia Neighborhood Association, but he is home with COVID, but he wanted to mention that he was observing the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will entertain a motion.
I entertain a motion to approve this with the added a wall extension, that is feasible at that with the plans, ivy, and lighting for the neighborhood as well.
I'll second it.
I would like to make a counter motion in the spirit of what residents have raised to continue this item, to continue engagement, given the way COVID is impacting us and the lack of engagement at the beginning of this process.
I second that.
Chair, the procedure here will be that the second motion that has received a second is to be voted upon first. If it fails, then we'll proceed to vote on the first motion.
Thank you. Go ahead and call for the vote on the second motion made.
Okay, Chair Guerrero, how do you vote?
No.
And then Commissioner Lopez?
Are we voting on the first one or the second one?
The second one, on the counter,
The
motion.
second one made by Mr. Flores.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and then Commissioner Sanchez?
No.
Commissioner Quill?
No.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Armstead? And Commissioner Lois?
No.
Okay, so that's, it does not pass then, correct? Okay, so to vote on the first one now, the motion to approve it. Chair Guerrero, how do you vote?
Yes.
And then Chair Lopez, or Commissioner Lopez, excuse me. And then Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Quill? Commissioner Flores?
No.
Commissioner Armstead? To approve it, to move it to council. With the, yes, with the recommendations. And then Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, so it's approved and it's going to move to council then.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, non-public hearing.
Yes, Commissioners. Item number 6 is kind of our monthly update on our general plan. So the advisory committee had a meeting on December the 9th, and it looks like they're looking to finalize the vision statement for this general plan. And there was also a discussion, initial discussions on the land use, that's going to be probably a 2 or 3 meeting discussion with them, just an education process of land use and what's evaluated, how it's evaluated. And so I included those presentations as part of your package here as an update. On the 19th of this month, the Downtown Advisory Committee will be meeting to finalize their vision statement for the downtown area, and to also consider the approval or the recommendations for the land use plan for the downtown. Those 2 items will come to you, and we're anticipating that those will be coming to you at the February meeting. The General Plan Advisory Committee, they will be meeting on the following day, on the 20th, Thursday, 6 o'clock, and they will also be reviewing the vision statement to finalize that. And that will also be coming to you at the February meeting with a recommendation to adopt that vision statement. So we'll have a nice, healthy conversations on the next meeting with those 2 items. And we have a couple of other development projects that'll be before you as well. But just wanted to ask you to receive and file this presentation. I would encourage you maybe to watch both the downtown and the GPAC meeting on the 19th and the 20th, just to kind of follow along in the process, if you will. And again, if you know anyone any residents that you would encourage to come out and attend the meeting, that would be appreciated as well.
When is the GPAC meeting?
On Thursday, the 20th.
20th. And the downtown?
Is the 19th, the Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
The same week.
Yes, and so it'll be back-to-back meetings, and they're both at 6 o'clock, and they are here.
Okay, so any questions? If not, we'll receive and file.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Now, we did have We did actually have the public comment that was received for the 2050 general plan.
Yes.
So that was received. Do we need to make a note of that?
Do you have a recourse system? Do you want us-
You just noted it, Chair.
Okay,
It'll
thank
be in the
you.
record.
And then we do have a gentleman, Delshawn, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He wants to speak on it.
Okay, sure.
Delshawn? You want to speak, sir?
Thank you.
How you guys doing this evening? Again, my name is Delshawn McClellan. I'm a representative of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, and we have members that live and work recreating the vicinity of this project. We believe that the impact by the environmental impacts of this project could affect us. The city should require this project to be built with utilizing a local and skilled trained workforce. I've said it time and time again, but a local and skilled trained workforce can requirements reduce construction-related environmental impacts while benefiting the local economy. In a recent 2020 report titled Putting California on a High Road, 8 Jobs and Climates Action Plans for 2030, the California Workforce Development Board concluded that investments in growing, diversifying, upscaling California's workforce can positively affect returns on climate mitigation efforts. Moreover, just this year, the South Coast Air Quality Management District found that the local state certified apprenticeship program or a skilled trained workforce and local hire component can result in air pollutant reductions. Other cities have not hesitated to apply skilled and trained workforce requirements for private development projects in their cities. Local skilled and trained workforce requirements can boost economies' development and mitigate transportation and greenhouse gas by minimizing vehicle miles traveled. Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to Planning Commission reports, announcements. Okay, none. All right, Director's report.
I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you very much.
All right, then we will move on to adjourn at 8:07 p.m. Motion, oh, yes,
Sorry,
please.
one question. I remember that Stephanie Sanchez, that she mentioned we were going to have a master list of projects that were going and not. I kind of been looking online. I wasn't able to find that. Do you guys have it up and running yet, or? Oh, okay. All right. Just wondering. Thank you, Oliver. It was a list of all the projects that the Planning Commission has passed or is actually going, it's completed or not. Status of projects. Thank you.
Yeah, the list that we used to get also showed the submittals, and it showed the status of those projects in submittal.
We haven't done that major projects listed month of Sundays. It's been a few years. I don't know if we're going to revive that exercise.
I do know the city clerk is working on something citywide for things that go, not just Planning Commission, but everything. I don't know if they have it available, but that is something that they're asking monthly. And I do have like variances and applicants, and then it does have sort of information on there. I'll try to look, but I believe the city clerk is working on something like that.
Perfect. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, even if it was in a spreadsheet that we could access through the website, the city website.
I'll have to figure out where she posts it, because she does request that information from me, and I send it to her, but when it's approved and denied and that kind of stuff. So I believe they're working on compiling something like that for you.
Thank you.
I have a question also, Oliver. Did the item get approved for the moving of the 500 to 800 to 1,000 feet
That's going to the meeting of the 19th.
on the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
And then my last question is, I spoke with Commissioner Lewis once about getting maybe even badges. That way, when he would go onto a site, or any one of us go onto a site, that we're not just, a random person looking around someone's property that's, going on to a project. Is there anything that could kind of identify us? That way we don't look like a stranger danger?
I will look into that. I know that some cities have badges for city officials and those kinds of things. There are some pluses to doing that for identification purposes, but there's also downside to that because sometimes it gets, excuse me, badges get mistaken for law enforcement. And unfortunately, we live in a society where not all law enforcement people are supported. And so I've gone through that training before, and it looks cool when you have a badge and stuff, and you go, you go to the bank or you go to a restaurant, right? And then now there's a holdup or something. They ask everybody to get on the ground and stuff. They go around, and all of a sudden you have a badge, and now you're a threat to them. And they don't look to see that it just says planning or commissioner, kind of a thing. And so we'll look into that and see about some.
Yeah, Oliver, I don't think she meant like something that looks like a police badge. We don't want that. No, just a name tag or something. But in regards to that, yeah,
okay.
And in regards to that, our councilman in the 7th Ward, and I've been trying to suggest everybody do it, we facilitated and contracted with Express Printing, D Street and Highland, and they're the ones that made these shirts up. This is sufficient for me. I just, because now I can go out, I can survey a location or a project site, and it, it looks, it kind of identifies who I am when I'm there. So
if I may ask,
yes.
I apologize. Would the commissioners be interested in a polo or something?
Yeah.
Similar to that? We do have our staff shirts and those kind of things that identify either the department or whatever, our commissioner. Is everyone kind of open to that? Maybe you could secretly send your size to Jessica and she can, and we can get those orders.
At one point, we actually have business cards. When I was on the building commission, we had business cards also, because you do visit sites and people are questioning what you're doing there.
Right.
So I'm kind of amenable to several, that works, a little,
So
name
we'll
placard,
send out an email, and then with the maybe some options in terms of color or what style or what have you, and then you could reply back with your appropriate size, and then we'll take it from there.
That would be perfect. Thank you, Oliver.
You're welcome.
Thank you. With that being, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
That was 13.
Second.
Thank you, at 8:13 p.m.
Who was the second? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Wait, were you second? Oh, they all spoke at once.